everyone, and welcome back to the Chucky Talk Show. Today we got a special interview just for you. This is a very special fan for quite a while. You might know her because she's the one that came up with CheeseVention. Get your hands together for the one and only Jenn.
Thank you everyone, thank you.
So Jenn, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
That's good.
I've had a really great day today. I've had a Chucky day.
Ooh, nice. More better, a Chucky day. So, we had a few questions here to ask you. Well, we knew that you were actually a good, long-time ChuckECheeses fan. So, how did you got interest in ChuckECheeses and its concept, actually?
Well, that would start in August of 1981. I was living in Sefner, Florida back then with my mom. And they had just opened the Brandon, Florida Pizza Time Theater. And they sent out some flyers in the mail inviting everyone to come on down and check out the brand new Pizza Time Theater and all the exciting attractions they had there. So we went, and I instantly fell in love with the place. The entire concept of Pizza Time Theater was just mind-blowingly awesome for a 10-year-old. Mm-hmm. I loved everything about it. The atmosphere, which was very dark and theatrical and had great ambiance, to, of course, the cybermacis shows. Back then they had all the side shows like the cabaret and the lounge, and it was very entertainment driven and theatrical. It wasn't about just, hey, let's bring the toddlers down and spend some money. No, there was a lot more to it back then. Right. So I instantly became Chucky's biggest fan.
Nice. And also, for some people who may or may not know, if you check on ChuckECheeses.com on the photo galleries, and actually these pictures were actually submitted by Jenn herself, Brandon was one of the locations to have the little shavers.
Yes, it was one of the few test locations that had the mega rare ChuckECheeses Ice Cream Emporium, which was built in a side room as you entered into the store. It was off to your left-hand side, across from the lounge and the cabaret. And you could go in there, and it was an authentic recreation of an old-time ice cream parlor. And in the corner was the Three Shavers, which was an exclusive show that was just for the Ice Cream Emporiums. I think there was only 5 Ice Cream Emporiums that were opened.
I believe so.
And the Brandon, Florida store, which at that time was the big kind of corporate flagship Pizza Time Theater of the South, had it. I was not a big fan of the show. I mean, it just wasn't something I was particularly interested in.
Right.
But I know the rarity of the show, it's of interest to a lot of people.
Pretty much, yeah.
The ice cream at the Ice Cream Emporium was excellent, by the way. It was really, really good. I've over the years I've talked about it. It had a very unique flavor. It actually, the ice cream flavors tasted like cheesecake ice cream.
Oh, wow.
It's very hard to kind of describe it, but I would say that's probably what it tasted like. So if you ever go to an ice cream counter or a restaurant and you see cheesecake ice cream on the menu, try it out, because that is pretty much what the ice cream at the Ice Cream Emporium tasted like. Also, it's very close to that.
Also, did you know that the little shavers are now at the Vogel Art Museum down in Illinois?
Yes, I've actually, that gentleman who runs that was actually in touch with me recently about restoring some of his cosmetics.
Nice.
Not that particular show.
Oh.
But other things that he has in his collection.
Nice. Continue on with the Pizza Time Theater. Who was your favorite guest star or cabaret character during the Pizza Time Theater era?
That would definitely be Harmony Howlett. Mm-hmm. She was my favorite guest character. I thought she was the best. Everything about her was great. The way she looked, her personality, the vocal talent that they used at the time, the just whole her kind of sassiness towards the Big C back then. She was one of the few guests that didn't take the Big C's sass. Right. She would kind of throw it back in his face. Mm-hmm. But she was, still very feminine and cute, and I just thought she was really cool for a guest star. She was the first guest star that I saw in August of 1981.
Nice.
Because the Brandon store opened with the Harmony Howlett as the guest. My favorite cabaret would definitely be Dolly Dimples, which was also at the Brandon Pizza Time Theater at that time. Dolly, I just think she has a great personality, and she's just goes way, way back to the very beginning of Pizza Time Theater's existence. I mean, she's one of their earliest characters. Of course, they redesigned her when they rolled her out nationally, but
yeah,
she still had that great personality and voice. And her little, her little in-jokes that she would throw in with her dialogue, were just great. So 40-something years later, I'm still enjoying listening to Dolly.
And I hope all you viewers out there are listening to enjoying Dolly Dimples' first show tape. And also, you want to check it out? Go check out her channel. Link will be in the description. Like I did say in the intro, you came up with CheeseVention. Which is actually a good little convention for all the ChuckECheeses and Showbiz fans. So how did that all started?
It started in, I think it was 2002. Me and my best friend, we were both working at the Danvers, Mass ChuckECheeses back then. And I remember we were sitting around in the backstage party room, getting ready to come out and do a live show or a birthday show for several parties we had going on that particular day. And we were just kind of sitting in there and talking about like the fan community and things that were happening at the time in the company. I mean, back then the fan community was just kind of in the beginnings of what it's become today. So information was very limited. The internet wasn't what it is today. We didn't have YouTube. We didn't have social media. But we had a wonderful online forum that used to be on the showbizpizza.com website. They used to have their very own message forum, and I spent some time on there along with my friend. But I remember we were sitting around in the party room and we were discussing all of this, and I remember he said something about, it's too bad that there isn't some kind of fan convention for these people that are interested in the history and the concept to go to just, hang out and get to know each other and have some fun. And I remember turning to him and saying, we could do kind of a get-together. I mean, what's to say that we can't have some kind of a get-together? I says, we work here at the store. We can just invite everybody here to our store, and we're entertainers ourselves. Both me and my best friend were, entertainers for many, many years before we worked for ChuckECheeses. So that's how it started. And the following year, 2003, we talked a little more about it. And then we held the very first event. I believe it was that summer.
Oh, wow.
And it just kind of took off from there. I came up with the name CheeseVention because I thought it was just kind of a fun way, instead of calling it just a convention, let's call it a CheeseVention. Because at the time, it wasn't just a convention for Chuck E. Cheese fans, it was for Chuck E. Cheese fans, Pizza Time Theater fans, and Showbiz Pizza Place fans. So I wanted a name that kind of could be used for all three of those concepts. And the one thing they all share, besides animatronics, is they all have pizza.
Right.
So CheeseVention it was. And it started off small. We had like 25 people. We held the first CheeseVention at the Danvers, Mass ChuckECheeses. And Aaron Fector of Creative Engineering fame was our first special guest. And he actually came up for the event and actually visited the Danvers, Mass ChuckECheeses to meet all the fans that had come to that first event. Oh
yes, I remember you. Your best friend did a video about that, and he pointed to my organ and said, "Is Dad's fastest organ on the 2 stage?"
Yes, that's right. Yep. So I don't know how many ChuckECheeses out there can claim that they've had Aaron Fector visit them, but the Danvers, Mass ChuckECheeses was one where Aaron Fector actually visited.
Nice. What was your which event was like your most favorite one through all the CheeseVentions that you guys had done?
It's very hard to choose a favorite because each one of them was very cool and very unique and special in its own way. That was one of the great things I felt about CheeseVention, is that each one was very different. There were things that were very similar. You know, we tried to do like similar things that people enjoyed doing, but each one also was really different. And I know I personally was very adamant about the event traveling around. I know my co-host wasn't necessarily always happy with that, because traveling for him at that time was difficult. But I insisted that it move around to different places in the country to give fans a chance, you know, fans everywhere, no matter where they lived in the country, a chance to be able to attend one if they wanted to.
Right.
So we would hold, I think we had 3 or 4 of them here on the East Coast. We had 2 in Texas. We had 1 in the Chicago area. And then we had 2 out in California to celebrate the 2 anniversaries of Pizza Time Theater, the 30th anniversary, I believe it was, and the 35th anniversary.
Nice.
I mean, every single one of them was special. I mean, there's some that kind of stand out from others.
Right.
Like I thought CheeseVention 9 was pretty epic. We had one of the founders of Pizza Time Theater, as far as the characters and the show goes, Harold Goldbranson, join us.
Oh, nice.
And it was fascinating spending some time with him, listening to him tell his stories. CheeseVention 10 was great because it was the big finale.
Right.
CheeseVention 8 was great. CheeseVention 6 was terrific. We got to go out and see a really well taken care of Rock-afire Explosion show in somebody's warehouse.
Oh, nice.
A private collector. Even CheeseVention 3 was great. CheeseVention 4 was my first time to California, and that was pretty amazing to visit all of those places in Pizza Time Theater history. We did like a crawl and hit all these famous spots.
Yep.
Met some cool people.
Yeah, speaking of...
Every single one has got something special about it, so it's hard to pick just one for a favorite.
I gotcha. Speaking of CheeseVention 3, I actually have the DVD case still to this day, but I don't have the CDs to it.
Oh no, what happened?
It's a long story short. Long story short on that one.
Those are very hard to come by these days.
It is.
They're not made anymore.
Yeah, no, it's like I remember having it when I was young and buying it up. I think off of the website, and then once I got it, I remember watching part 1 and then watching part 2. It's like now the CDs are gone, and it's like,
Well, maybe perhaps one of these days I might be able to get those out there on YouTube so that you know, everyone can see them. But it's difficult because a lot of the footage and the material that we used is stuff that, you know, might not be something that should kind of be out there.
Right.
Particularly when it comes to the creative engineering characters.
Yeah.
Things were very different back when we were doing the CheeseVentions, and it was okay to mix the 2 concepts together.
Right.
Well, that hasn't been okay for quite a few years now. So when you go back and you're looking at that footage, you're like, yeah, you know, it's going to be kind of challenging to get this out. If you wanted to get this out,
right,
it's going to be pretty challenging because a lot of that footage we can't really release anymore.
Right.
I hope you find those DVDs.
Yeah, hopefully one day I'll find them. Probably after this interview, I'll send you a pic of the CD case for nostalgic. What was your good times and bad times working at the Danvers ChuckECheeses?
The good would be the fun people that I got to work with. The entertainment aspect was always fun. You know, of course, I enjoyed assisting Chucky and his friends. And working on the show, and I was all about the entertainment aspect. That was kind of what I like to focus on.
Right.
That itself could be a little challenging, especially when I was promoted to a management position, because my responsibilities was, of course, to the store and sales. But in my mind, the entertainment aspect was equally as important, because if you're giving your guests a great show, you know, the entire package. What I mean by a great show, I don't mean just the animatronics or just the character.
Right.
I mean, you give them great food, you give them, you know, a great time. Of course, you know, you want your show to look good, you want your character to be enthusiastic, you want your merch counter to look great. If you accomplish all of that, then the sales and the bottom line will just take care of themselves. So I would say that was probably the positive.
Right.
And the negative would probably be that same thing, because I often would clash with the corporate types. And sometimes my district manager regarding that philosophy of, you know, the entertainment is just as important as focusing on the bottom line.
Right.
If you're giving the guests a good show, the bottom line is going to take care of themselves. They're going to empty their wallets. And I proved that many times by holding special events that I'm sure some fans are aware of. We did a 25th anniversary birthday party for Chucky at my store.
Oh, yes.
We did a Christmas party event that ended up being my swan song. And both of those events, we had huge sales, and the guests loved it. We had some regular customers that would, you know, come pretty regularly. And I remember after I had moved on, they would still come to the store and tell the managers that were there that, oh my gosh, you know, that Christmas party you guys had was like awesome, you should do it again, or why aren't you doing it again?
Right.
So I would say that was probably the negative, is that sometimes that clashing of those two worlds.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, there was other stuff that was going on at the time that I wasn't aware of, that, you know, in hindsight was, you know, probably not a plus.
Right.
For working for the company. But I tend to try to focus more on the positive. I mean, being a huge fan of the concept since I was 10, you know, of course I was ecstatic to finally go work for ChuckECheeses in June of 1999, because I swore when I was a kid, I said, someday I'm going to work for ChuckECheese. And, you know, 20-something years later, that happened. So I took my job pretty seriously, and I love my job, but it can be stressful at times.
Right.
As I'm sure anyone who currently works for the company, I mean, it's very different now. The companies run very differently now, and the way the stores are run are very different from when I worked there.
Right.
And I can't even begin to imagine how anyone can deal with what they have to deal with now. It's just the stress level must be through the roof. My stint there, I had for the most part, I had a great time and I enjoyed it.
Nice. Speaking of which, at the company, you uploaded a video a while back. It was like a year ago, I meant to say, from Danvers 18. How was that visit, actually, during your time at the Danvers 18 back in 2004?
Oh, the Department 18 video is probably one that I shot during one of several visits I did to the studio at home office.
Nice.
I visited there 3 times. The first was right before I did the first CheeseVention. It was either 2003 or 2004. I can never remember. You'd think I'd be able to remember.
Right.
Oh, no, it was 2003, yeah. Because that was the first one, because 2013 was CheeseVention 10.
Right.
So, the first visit, I was actually invited down by one of the guys who works down there to visit the studio. So I took him up on the offer, I went down and had a great time. And I think I did a photo session, and they ran some shows, and then the second time was when I was there for one of the CheeseVentions, our first CheeseVention we held in Texas, I think.
Oh, wow. Was it the one where you did was that where the Scott Wilson interview was at? Or that was different?
It might have been CheeseVention 8, because we also visited the studio during CheeseVention 8.
Ah, gotcha.
That was probably CheeseVention 8, because that was a slightly larger event. We had a larger attendance. And we were able to get arrangements to do a studio tour, and Scott was involved. So I'm pretty sure that was CheeseVention 8. But all 3 times that I visited, I took photos, and I think the last visit I was able to shoot some video. I don't remember the second time, but each visit was definitely very memorable, and I thank the Department 18 Duke boys for the kind invitation to visit and check out all their cool equipment and their collectibles, and of course to see the shows, the programming stages that they had. Of course, you know, home office has moved since then. I haven't visited the new studio, which is twice as small as what it was before, from what I'm told. But
oh yeah, definitely. There's a lot of videos of it.
The original home office.
Yeah, there's a lot of videos of it. Actually, what it looks like. I swear I thought you always worked at Demoport for a second. That's all I was thinking back then. Like, I always thought you always did. I knew you worked for the store, but I thought of, like, Demoport too.
I worked at 3 ChuckECheeses during my stint. I worked for the company officially for 3.5 years.
Oh, wow.
From June 1999 until the very first week of January of 2003. My primary store was the Danvers, Mass location, but I also split myself between 2 or 3 other stores. So I would work a shift at my home store in Danvers for like, say, a day or 2, and then the next day I would go to, say, the Methuen, Mass ChuckECheeses and work there for a day or 2. And at one point I was also working at the Lowell, Mass ChuckECheeses to help them out because they were very short on managers and needed shift coverage.
Wow.
So I think it was the spring of 2002, I think it was. I can never remember if it's 2001 or 2002. It might have been 2001. Whatever year the Chucky's Rockin' Rhymes show tape came out.
2001.
Because that was the show tape that was running back then.
April 2001. That was it. Yeah.
Okay, so it was 2001 that I was there and helping them out in Lowell. In the spring and the summer, I was helping cover shifts during the day for them, and then I went back to just Methuen and Danvers.
Nice.
And then eventually, I just got back to Danvers.
I remember watching your video, and I was talking to one of my co-hosts too about this because we did like a topic video for our season 1. We was watching your restoration video of the Pieces on Players, and we saw that Harmony was doing stylish as Shay, and just this curiosity. Did they always did that for the characters? Like, did they just retrofitted the Chucky to the guest stars or the guest stars to another guest star?
The cybermatic frames were pretty much all identical, except for like a couple of different movements.
Okay.
For example, Pasquale would have slightly different arm movements than, say, a guest character or Chucky. And of course, Jasper had slightly different arm attachments so that he could do his little movement to make it look like he was playing his banjo.
Right.
Same with Munch. His arms operated very similar to Pasquale.
Yeah, it's we was talking about like saying like Chucky and Munch had like the same movement. Then I was watching another video saying that Munch and Pasquale had the same movement.
Yeah, Pasquale's 2 arms. His arms used to move in and out, so it looked like he was playing a squeeze box. Because at Pizza Time Theater, that's what he was originally doing. Up on the balcony stage, he was playing a little Italian Constanita.
Oh, nice.
And Munch's arms, although they also kind of swung in and out, they were not synced together. They were separate, slightly separate. But the guest character, the cybermatic frame was pretty much the same as Chucky's, and they would just switch out the cosmetics. So, say, for example, for like a year or so, they'd have Harmony Howlett. And then in the spring of 1982, they switched to Madame Oik. So all they would do is just remove the Harmony cosmetics and put on the Madame Oik ones. They occasionally would have to switch out the iris covers or sometimes the eyelids, but not always.
Oh, that makes sense.
That's why you'll notice a lot of the guest characters all have blue eyes. Because they just reuse the same eyes. And sometimes even the same eyelids.
You got any favorite show tape that you love listening to the most?
Yeah, there's 2 I can think of. One that I really like. They're both shows that we used to play a lot at the store when I worked there, so that's probably part of the reason I like them so much. The first one that would be a favorite would be the Best of CEC TV 93, which was almost, I think it's like an hour and a half or a 2-hour long compilation of material that they did in 1991 and 1992. And I used to love putting that on because it was so long. You know, you put it on and you wouldn't hear any repeated segments for like an hour and a half or 2 hours, or however long it is. And of course, all this stuff was the early material. Some of the material still had classic rap featured in some of the material. That's how old it was.
Oh, nice.
But I used to love putting that tape in. And the other one I used to like was Chucky's Variety Show, which was released in January of 2000. And that was also another best of tape, which just was a compilation of material that they had done the prior year in 1999. And there's lots of great stuff on there, like Chucky's Dance Party, We All Love Music, I love my pizza, cheese pizza in paradise, Chucky Town. There's tons of stuff on that tape that everything's a gem.
I love my pizza, huh? I don't think there's a song
So
called...
I'd say those are probably my two favorites. That immediately spring to mind. I mean, there was a lot of good shows in like 2000.
Right.
But I would say the variety show and the Best of CEC TV 93 would probably be two of my favorites that I can immediately think of when someone asked me that question. As far as like Pizza Time Theater, the Harmony Howlette shows, absolutely.
Nice.
The Harmony's Hoedown and the Harmony's Wild West show, both of those are gems. Both of those shows are fantastic.
Do you have like a favorite location you have visit besides Danvers?
Well, my favorite Pizza Time Theater was, of course, the Brandon, Florida one. The couple of years that I was living in Florida at the time.
Right.
And then I came up here to Massachusetts, and then Danvers kind of became my Pizza Time Theater. Even though, of course, at that point, Pizza Time Theater pretty much ceased to exist. It kind of evolved into, or devolved into, you know, other directions slowly over the years.
Right.
I don't know, a favorite, like, modern store, I don't know, I can't think of, like, a favorite, like, ChuckECheeses. I would say it's still Danvers, but unfortunately they closed permanently last month after a glorious 37-year history. So right now, yeah, I don't really have a favorite location because sadly there really isn't any ChuckECheeses around me now.
Right. They're mostly
They're
just...
all, you know,
They're mostly coming
far
after
away
you
now.
guys, usually. They're mostly coming after you, most in Massachusetts.
Well, the next closest store, I believe, is the Lowell, Mass. ChuckECheeses, but I'm not, like, a huge fan of that particular location. I liked it better before they did the current remodel. Back when I was working there, they still had a lot of their older stuff, and, of course, they still had their ChuckECheeses era, whatever phase it is, phase 3, I guess, is what people refer to it, the early 90s remodel that has all the ChuckECheeses.
Phase 1, Phase 2.
Yeah, when the Lowell store had still all of its old materials inside, you know, its old decor, it was a lot cooler of a store. It was very kind of intimate. It was a very small, it seemed like a very small location, but now they've gone in there and they've knocked down all the walls and torn out a lot of things and just made it a giant square box. They even expanded into the restaurant that used to be next door to them. There really isn't anything appealing about it anymore to me.
Oh, wow. Speaking of which of Danvers, what, like, I was looking at this list from CC Master, of the Pizza Time Theater list. Did they had the family album first or the rocker stage for Danvers? I know they're...
Neither.
Neither?
The Danvers, Mass. location opened in April of 1983, and they opened with Madame Oink on the balcony stage. The balcony stage was then removed in early 1985 to be sent to another Pizza Time Theater that was opening. I think it was Warwick, Rhode Island's original location, if I'm remembering right.
Right.
Back then, in 1985, it was merger period. Pizza Time Theater Incorporated no longer existed. The production facility in California that manufactured the cybermacis, of course, was no longer functioning. So there was a serious shortage of cyberamic shows, and the company wanted to be sure that when a new ChuckECheeses opened, it opened with the ChuckECheese character animation. So since they were short on shows, what they would do is they would look at a store that was nearby that was established, and what that means is a store that had already been operating for a few years. And what they would do is they would actually take out that store's original show, in this case, the Danvers Balcony Show,
right,
and they would transfer it to the location that was yet to open. In this case, I believe the original location for the Warwick, Rhode Island store. So the Danvers store lost its original show, and that is why they brought in the third-party animation, which was the family album. it was to replace the show that they removed to send to another store that they were opening, because they didn't have any more cyberamic shows to distribute since, like I said, the merger had just happened and they just did not have the supply.
Oh, wow.
The family album was there for a few years, and then once the company got back up on its feet and was able to manufacture the cyberamics and the cyberamic parts again,
right,
with a different distributor that was based in the Midwest, they reinstalled the balcony show from another location, and I don't remember where it came from. My best friend would be able to tell you, but I don't remember.
Alright.
They removed the family album, and they replaced the family album, I think it was 1987 or 1988, and they replaced it with a balcony show with Broadway Helen Henny. But it was only there for a very short time, because by 1988, most of the shows were being converted to the rocker stage or the C stages.
I gotcha.
And in Danvers' case, in 1988, they received the rocker stage.
Alright, last question. Will we expect more videos on your channel very soon?
That's always a possibility. I do have something that I found last month that I would like to try to get up. It's actually, speaking of those CheeseVention DVDs, it's actually a segment off of one of those. I think it's the CheeseVention 2 DVD. I found some more Danvers show footage that I would like to put up for people to enjoy, because those seem to be the videos that fans out there seem to enjoy watching the most, is footage that I shot at the Danvers, Mass location. I would shoot a lot of segments of the shows for archival purposes, for my own use. You know, I wanted to have a recorded document of what these performances looked like in the setting that they were presented in. And those seem to be pretty popular with people. So this is video that someone else, a friend of mine, had shot at the Danvers store during the event. And I thought it would be of interest to put up. So then, it's very time-consuming putting videos up on my channel. I know a lot of people have asked me about this in the past. But I don't have a way of converting the VHS tapes to digital. So what I do is I just play them on my TV and shoot video with my tablet.
Oh, nice.
And I can only capture up to about 3 minutes, I think, before it just all of a sudden decides it doesn't want to be filming anymore. So I'm very limited to the time that I can capture something and get it up. But when I do, it's great, because then everybody gets to see it and enjoy it. But it is time-consuming, and when I do find something, I set it aside, and when I have the time, I like to try to get it up on my channel. So the answer to that's yes, but it might just take a little while.
Alright. Well, I mean, anything is possible. Anyway, I guess we're running out of time here. Thanks again, Jenn, for tuning in for this amazing interview. And guys, you want to check out her channel, link will be in the description to check out some amazing videos. Get your hands together for Jenn.
Thank you. No autographs, please. Thank you.
And guys, you guys want stay tuned for more videos coming here soon on the Chucky Talk Show. We have a lot of great stuff coming your way. Thanks again, Jenn, for tuning in.
Woo!
And hopefully we can do some reactions from your channel too. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time on the next episode.